Hello everybody and welcome to another countdown of what is popular in Japan. This counting down the top 10 best-selling light novels in Japan for April the 1st to the 7th of 2019. I do have a whole bunch of these all prepped and notes done and ready to go, so this is the month I catch up. I know I've said that before, but this is the time that we do it. I know some of you have said, well, why don't you just forget and just start with the regular stuff, but I don't know, part of me is like, I don't want to potentially miss some good stuff that might have come out in those lists, because every now and then there's new releases and stuff like that and new things to talk about. So instead I'm just going to try and power through and pump out 2 or 3 of these a week and see if we can get caught up by the end of June. So without further ado, let's get to it. At number 10, with 5,900 copies sold, this one is actually a light novel that's a tie-in to a popular manga series that actually has an anime that's currently airing, and that is Bokutachi wa Benkyou ga Dekinai, or We Never Learn. The manga is released by Viz in English. This being a brand new light novel, there's no telling if it'll get picked up or not. The first novel, but this is actually the first novel based on the manga series. It appears to be side stories. The main series, when Studios Nariyuki tutors 2 super geniuses who are total dunces in their favorite subjects, he'll get a crash course in love. Nariyuki Yuga comes from an impoverished family, so he's eager to secure a full scholarship to college when he graduates high school. His principal agrees with one stipulation. He must tutor the 2 smartest girls at the school and make sure they get into their target colleges. Rizu is a science genius who wants to study liberal arts. Fumino is effortlessly good at literature, but math makes her head spin. Nariyuki is stuck between a rock and a hard place, but who can complain about tutoring a couple of cute girls? Nariyuki is facing the chance of a lifetime if he can just make sure that Fumino and Rizu excel and get into the schools they want to attend. He comes prepared to tutor them, but he isn't prepared for burgeoning high school romance. Sparks begin to fly, no matter how much Nariyuki tries to avoid it, and things get even more complicated when a 3rd girl joins the study group. So again, a romance comedy type manga, slice of life type manga, and as I said, we've seen this a lot right now as we're having light novels tie into popular manga series. It's kind of interesting just to see how this is sort of perpetuating. This one starts off as a manga, now it has an anime, now it has a light novel, and we're seeing like these plays on cycles all the time. So not too surprising to see this one on the list. And again, I don't know if we'll get it licensed. We are starting to get some of these tie-ins licensed in English, particularly if like the manga is licensed or the anime has been airing. At number 9, with 6,242 copies sold, Shōsetsu eiga Doraemon Nobita no getsumen tansa-ki, or Doraemon the Movie 2019, Nobita's Chronicle of the Moon Exploration. Obviously, we have talked quite a lot about Doraemon on the top 10. This movie like killed it at the box office, and well, continues the light novel adaptation of the movie, continues to do exceptionally well as well. In fact, there's another light novel spin-off of a movie or adaptation of a movie that's going to be dominating the top 10 for several weeks. I'm sure most of you can probably figure out if you follow said series, but yeah, so Doraemon still hanging on there on the top 10. At number 8, with 6,247 copies sold, Volume 11 of Shinrei Tantei Yakumo, or Psychic Detective Yakumo. We do not have an English license for the light novel series. Haruka, consulted by a friend who ran into a ghost at school, goes to the movie research circle to see a man with mysterious powers. However, the person who meets her there is an affected young man with terrible bed hair and sleepy eyes. What does Haruka consult him about? a confinement and murder case at a women's university, a false suicide case. The great detective who can see the spirits of the dead, Saito Yakumo, takes these cases on in this astoundingly high-speed spiritual mystery. So, interestingly enough, Volume 10 was on the list just like a week ago, and now we're having Volume 11. I believe Volume 11 is actually the newest one in the series, and based on like the cover art of these series, it almost looks like the previous volumes were re-released with new art, and then this Volume 11, I couldn't find that same matching art. So, I don't know what the situation is with this series. I did say in the last video when we were talking volume number 10, I was like, this is a really cool sounding series to me. Like, this is the kind of stuff I would like to see us get more of in English now. This, these sort of, it's very popular in anime, obviously, and a lot of manga as well. These sort of psychic detectives, or, you know, detectives who can see the dead and that kind of stuff. Like, it's been very, very popular in the other media that we have in terms of Japanese popular media. So it would be cool to see some of the bigger series that exist light novel-wise come over with that kind of stuff. At number 7, with 6,283 copies sold, Volume 3 of Sentouin Hakenshimasu, or as we are getting it in English, Combatants Will Be Dispatched. This is actually the new series by the author of Konosuba, so you kind of, if you're familiar with Konosuba, you have an idea of the absurdity that you're about to experience. This has now been announced that it's been licensed for English release by Yen On. They're going to be releasing Volume 1 on August 20th of 2019, so just towards the tail end of the summer. The secret society Kisaragi has one mission: world domination. They claim to be an evil organization, but their scientist is eccentric, their hot female generals wear little clothing, and they're surprisingly concerned about the fate of the world. Number 6 is a combatant for Kisaragi, meaning his body has been reconstructed to be stronger and obey the orders of the generals. His latest mission? To do recon on an unknown alien planet with his new partner, the deadpan android Alice. There, he meets a busty female knight riding a unicorn. Thus begins their hilarious invasion of a magical fantasy world. So, it's not exactly an isekai, because, I mean, it's not like he's been abducted or anything. He's going to investigate another world. So, it's almost like fantasy meets sci-fi, just meets the probably ludicrous absurdity that we all know and love in Konosuba. I'm actually really looking forward to checking this one out. Konosuba is just a real joy to read, and they're not very long. I mean, it's a great way to unwind. So I'm always happy to see another series come along that's like that. And this one just sounds like just nuts altogether, which I don't really see as a bad thing. At number 6, with 7,263 copies sold, Volume 9 of Isekai Cheat Magician, or Fantasy World Cheat Magician. We do not have an English license for the light novel series, but there is an anime that's going to be coming out based on this series. As regular high school students, Taichi and Rin disappeared in a beam of light. When they came to, the two of them were already in a world of swords and magic. Finally getting away after experiencing an attack by monsters, following the suggestion of adventurers, they headed on the path towards the guild. In the guild, the two of them found out that they possessed unbelievably powerful magic. Thus, the regular high school students transformed into the strongest cheats. So this one's been on the list plenty of times before, and I can't really remember the conversation that we had about it, because I was saying that I wondered whether it would be that the two of them would ever come into conflict, or if it was just sort of like a, I'm aging myself when I say it, but a moonlighting type situation. You know, the ones where it's like the guy and the girl, they work together, and the whole thing is there's that romantic sexual tension. Will they get together? Won't they get together? I'm laying odds, given that it is a light novel and that it's, an isekai. I'm laying odds it's that second one, where it's more like they just kind of travel together. Either that, or they decide they hate each other and they split up, and the story kind of follows how they do things on their own. I don't know. If you're familiar with this one, let me know in the comments down below. I've actually started a website for myself, just called, well, it's called lightnovels.site. You'll see it in the listing. I've got a couple of entries on this, and basically I'm just putting all of my notes about each of these things there, so that way I don't have to search for stuff all over again every single time new titles or, you know, new volumes show up on the list that I've covered before. So feel free to let me know more about this one, and I'll add it to my notes on that site when that happens. At number 5, with 11,322 copies sold, volume number 19 of ReZero Kara Hajimeru Isekai Seikatsu, or as we have it in English, ReZero Starting Life in Another World. This one, of course, licensed for English release by Yen On. We're finally getting volume number 10 this month, which means that we have finally moved fully away from the material covered by the anime. Subaru Natsuki was just trying to get to the convenience store, but wound up summoned to another world. He encounters the usual things: life-threatening situations, silver-haired beauties, cat fairies, you know, normal stuff. All that would be bad enough, but he's also gained the most inconvenient magical ability of all: time travel. But he's got to die to use it. How do you repay someone who saved your life when all you can do is die? We have talked about this series at length. I have said often that I really, really like the series. The series, not only is it well written, in my opinion, in terms of just the language used, the descriptions and everything else, I also really appreciate that it has devoted a substantial amount of time to the psychological effects of Subaru's back and forth, dying, restarting, and everything else, and that it really is a series that has demonstrated a lot of growth in its main character, and a lot of him. We're seeing him mature as the series goes on. And I mean, I've only read the first 7 books so far, so I'm not even caught up to the English release. But yeah, definitely seen some very good character development on the side of Subaru, and it's just filled with a bunch of cool characters, and the world building is just, it's really solid. It's a solid series that I really enjoy. Definitely one that I want to be, you know, keeping up with as it goes along, and seeing where it goes. I mean, volume 19, so they've got 9 more volumes in Japan than we have. There is a season 3 anime coming out on this one, so it's obviously going to cover, well, I mean, they had, I think, 2 cores, and they covered 9 books. We've got 9 volumes. You've got 11 volumes in Japan now that are beyond what the anime covered. So I think if we get a single core season 3, it's going to probably cover, well, I don't know. There's an arc, obviously. These ones it's all in arcs. So I don't know. What do you guys think? How many volumes does this arc cover, starting with, say, volume number 10? I think somebody said it covers at least 4 books, but I'm not too sure, but pretty sure that the 3rd season of the anime will at least cover the 1 arc. That seems to be kind of the status quo with anime adaptations. At number 4, with 12,966 copies sold, Volume 5 of Isekai Nonbiri Nouka, or Farming Life in Another World. We do not have an English license for this light novel series. After his struggles against disease for a decade, the main character dies. However, he revives and became younger in a different world. The main support of the main character's heart during his battle against the disease is a TV program about leisure farming. In his second life in a different world, he's going to try farming. Common things like different world transition and domestic affairs, this will have no big climax, but this is going to be frantic. This series obviously been on the list a number of times before. We talked a little bit about it, and I know people were saying it's very, very slice of life. It's not a mad pace, despite saying frantic. I believe this is a harem series. In fact, I believe it actually ends up with the main character starting families with a couple of the girls, like having kids with a couple of the girls in the series already, even though it's only volume 5. So it's very, very, very slice of life. I think this is the one that somebody was saying, though, that there is kind of a demon lord aspect to things, but it's so far in the background, it's hardly even noticeable. And really, it's just about how this guy's farming is so good that it's at times almost inconvenient for the people around him and that kind of stuff. So again, just a very much slice of life, slow-paced Japanese type light novel, which we're seeing more and more of, it seems. It really seems that light novels are kind of moving into that point where they are pushing against this whole concept that we have often seen portrayed in Japanese culture of that sort of, push, 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 work, 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 dedicate to the job. Like, we're seeing more and more pushback against that by light novels. And it's interesting to me. I don't know if it represents a cultural shift or just represents like a shift in the fandom of light novels. At number 3, with 13,527 copies sold, Volume 5 of Isekai Shokudo, or, as we have it in English, Restaurant to Another World. This one is licensed for English release by 7 Seas. They've already released, as of my recording this, they've already released Volume 1 and 2 digitally. Volume 1 is coming out this month in print. I'll be definitely picking that one up. In Tokyo lies a small restaurant called Western Cuisine Nekoya. Ordinary in every way, save one. Every Saturday, its door connects to another world. Follow along as a cavalcade of curious guests, from half-elves to samurai, dragons, halflings, and vampires, enter its premises, all with the same goal in mind, to fill their stomachs with the most mouth-watering food. So, and again, it's another one, like, first of all, yes, cooking seems to be an increasingly popular topic in, well, light novels and manga. It just seems to be popular in general. This one, again, it's sort of a slower pace. I did watch some of the anime of it, not all of it. Very sort of focused on the customers aspect. So focusing on how the customers found the restaurant, how they came to try a particular dish, how it became their favorite dish. So it's very focused on sort of the individual personal stories of the customers who come into the restaurant. Not so much like some kind of big life-altering story. It's just really kind of focusing on how food can improve and change your life, which, in this fantasy setting, which, fair enough. At number 2, with 16,957 copies sold, this one it's kind of an interesting release. It is Bungo Stray Dogs Beast. Now, Bungo Stray Dogs, we have the manga. That one is being released by Yen Press. This month, Yen On is releasing the light novel prequel series to Bungo Stray Dogs. So there's also like several seasons of anime based on this series. What this one, it sort of faces, if I recall, it focuses on like an armed detective agency which deals with, really dangerous, violent, even sometimes paranormal type cases that the police can't handle. Now, this book apparently was initially available in theaters when the Bungo Stray Dogs film was being released, and it apparently is like an alternate take on the Bungo Stray Dogs story. So it kind of takes characters who are villains in the main Bungo Stray Dogs series and makes them the heroes and inverts it. So like some of the characters that are heroic or, good in Bungo Stray Dogs are now villains, and the villains are the heroes. So kind of like an alt-world, alt-reality take on the popular series. Wouldn't be surprised to see this get licensed at some point. Like I said, Yen On has already licensed a light novel spin-off of the series. It's a prequel to the main manga series. So clearly series very popular. Wouldn't be surprised to see this one come out in English eventually. Finally, at number 1, with 23,625 copies sold, Volume 14 of Tensei Shitara Slime Dataken, or as we have it in English, That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime. This is licensed for English release by Yen On. In terms of the English releases, we have moved beyond what the anime covered. The anime covered volumes 1 to 4. At least volume 5 has been released. I believe volume 6 is coming in the next couple months. Living alone and never having had a girlfriend, 37-year-old Satoru Mikami is dissatisfied with how his life has turned out, but after dying at the hands of a robber, he awakens to a fresh start in a new world as a slime monster. Now, if you've watched the anime, so you know that this series is very much about the character. He becomes a slime monster, but sort of applies his knowledge of how the world works and everything else, and is pushing his abilities. Obviously, he obviously is not your run-of-the-mill slime monster. I mean, those things are pretty weak and usually die pretty early on, so it wouldn't make much of an interesting series. It's very much like a kingdom building series. It sort of shifts into that different mode. I read the first volume, and you could definitely see elements of that in the first volume, but that seems to increase as the series progresses. It's a series that I really like the anime, actually, and the anime has kind of made me want to read more because I want to go back, and it sounds like the anime cut out quite a number of things from the books. So, obviously it's not a big surprise. This series has been very popular for quite a while in Japan, but I don't think the anime has certainly hurt the series in terms of its levels of popularity. So again, not a big surprise to see this one topping the list with its latest volume. In this video, I want to say a special thanks to Drone205, Michaela Werner, BigSlab.com, and Ricardo Matos for their support on Patreon, as well as the support of all of my patrons who every month have stuck with me even during sort of my drought of content over the last couple months as, life just got really complicated, and plus I was prepping for a big convention where I did probably a little bit too many panels, but nonetheless, I'm hoping to have more content here, and I really appreciate them hanging in there with me because it really allows me to not have as much pressure in terms of running the channel. There are always monthly expenses and everything else, and I just really appreciate their support. So those are the top 10 best-selling light novels in Japan for April 1st to the 7th of 2019. As soon as I stop recording this one, I'm going to start recording the next one, so rest assured we are at least moving ahead. In the meantime, thank you so much for joining me in this video. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Till then, bye-bye for now.